Hey fight fans, welcome back to Casuals. I'm Alec. To my right is co-host Carlos, and in this video, we'll be recapping UFC 262's main card, Oliveira versus Chandler. Let's get right into it. So, fun night, plenty of fights, big night for some underdogs that took advantage of the main stage. 262's main card, safe to say, wasn't as explosive as 261, but I will say this. You tell these fighters 25 more G's and bonus money, these guys don't play around, let me tell you. Just the prelims alone, 7 fights on the prelims, there were 5 finishes, man. What'd you think of the prelims alone by itself?
I felt like the prelims were more exciting than the main card, at least most of it. Almost every fight, like you said, was a finish. And even the decisions that we saw in the prelims, there were exciting fights start to finish.
Yeah, just name a few top of my head. You had Andrea Lee, who beat Shevchenko's sister with a nasty armbar. Jordan Wright, first round TKO. And then you had Andre Muniz, who got Jacare Souza in a tight armbar and popped. Did he break or pop his arm?
It popped. I haven't seen anything as far as the extent of his injury, but you could hear a snap, a loud pop snap noise when he broke Jacare's arm.
I think the crazy thing is Souza's reaction. This guy is like, oh, he's smiling. He's like, oh yeah, you broke it. That's crazy. Let me dap up your team for a great fight. Like, you compare that to like, soccer or something. You barely touch these guys and they're like, oh, I broke something. It hurts. And got Jacare from popped arm. Like, hey, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Like it's just weird to see.
It's almost like Jacare was like, let me just survive this round. And maybe it was a dislocation and they'll pop it back in place and I'm good to go. He was good to go after that happened. He's like, why'd you stop the fight?
It's just getting started. This happens all the time. All right, so moving on to the main card. First fight, absolute banger. You had Edson Barbosa got the TKO win in round 3 against Shane Burgos. Crazy back and forth exchanges between these guys. Definitely kicked off the main card right. Plenty of striking, big shots landed. But if we go back to the previous videos of our takes who would win, I mean, Carlos, that is crazy. I mean, that's crazy, right?
I mean, that is crazy. It's a good thing we didn't recap the card a few weeks ago with Cub, because I'd be going to town on you right now. But let's let that go. That's crazy. No, I mean, I'm just kidding. But Edson, bro, those leg kicks were brutal. From the beginning of the round, the way he was throwing them, it was almost knocking Burgos down all the time. Every time he threw one of those leg kicks, he threw them so hard that in the second round, he was bleeding from his shin. I mean, it was like a fountain of blood dripping down into his foot. And we almost thought it was a problem for him, but no, he kept throwing that leg kick and landing it very efficiently. And yeah, it was a very good fight to watch. Burgos showed some very crisp boxing, but I felt he was very one-dimensional, especially early in the fight. He, on top of that, had 0 defense. He landed some good strikes in the beginning, and in the second round, he actually had some success by returning those leg kicks that Edson was throwing at him. But for whatever reason, he just felt really a lot of confidence in his boxing, because he was landing some check hooks and he was damaging Edson Barbosa's face. But it was just too much offense from Edson as far as the leg kicks. At one point, Edson started timing Burgos' jab, countered it beautifully with the check hook, and hurt him several times in the fight. And just wow, with that delayed reaction KO at the end, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. The last similar reaction that I've seen, KO late reaction like that, is Souza versus Weidman. I believe that was a few years ago, but even at that, Weidman, it was like a 1 to 2 second late reaction. This was like a straight 5 to 10 second late reaction. It was very odd seeing that. But yeah, I mean, at some point, the body just shuts down, and that's the way the fight ended. Edson went down with a few super necessary ground strikes, and the fight was called.
Necessary. Yeah, I mean, Barbosa playing it smart, using his tools to his advantage. Like you said, great solid leg kicks, body kicks. He boxed when he needed to. We know he's not really a boxer. But you know what I noticed? The spinning back kicks, 2 of them. When's the last time you seen Edson Barbosa land those nice spinning back kicks right to the gut? That's classic Barbosa. That's what he can do in this division. Credit to Shane Burgos. He kept it interesting. bringing the pressure, landing some big shots, nice combos of his own. Barbosa can still take a punch, man. He has a hell of a chin. And then back and forth round 2, round 3, Barbosa lands a shot to Shane Burgos' temple, and Burgos is like, oh, he's been eating shots the whole fight. He's like, oh, that's nothing. And then you're right, 5 to 10 seconds later, he kind of just shuts down. Like, we're both like, what the hell just happened? Crazy finish. Barbosa displayed that he can hang with these top guys in the 145 division. I would like to see his next fight, being that he was coming into his fight ranked number 13. Shane Burgos was number 9. A fun matchup I'd like to see is Giga Chikadze or Sodiq Yusuff.
Yeah, I love that matchup with Giga, also a decorated striker. Would love to see them kick the hell out of each other. So that's a good matchup.
Yeah, gonna keep it good, standing on the feet, striking. What more can you want? All right, moving on to the next fight. You had Caitlin Chukagian versus Araujo. Carlos, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, just pretty much what we expected. Look, I honestly wanted to see a finish from Araujo, and I felt like she had the hands to take down Chukagian, but it seemed like she was tiring out throughout the fight. But there was a moment in the second round where it seemed like she had Chukagian on the ground in a reverse guillotine, and it almost looked like Chukagian tapped. I'll show it up on the screen, and you'll see in slow motion. Very brief. It's like a 2-3 tap on Araujo's butt, and the ref right there, right in front of the whole action, and nothing was done. I don't know if maybe in real time it just doesn't look as clear, but obviously when things are slowed down, it's a lot easier to pick out things. Nonetheless, Chukagian won the fight. I believe it was really close. I believe Araujo was winning the first round, and well, actually she was winning most of the second round as she was controlling Chukagian on the ground, and she had her in a submission for quite a while. But after they stood up and Chukagian was able to escape that, I guess she was piecing her up at the end of that round and was able in the eye of the judges to steal that second round and eventually won the third round. Now, that being said, before we continue to the next fight, I want to segue into something, and it was kind of the theme of the night, and it's been like this for far too long. So the judging in this fight, you had 29-28, 29-28, and a 30-27 for Chukagian. Listen, I don't think Araujo did enough to win that fight, even though I felt the second round was up for grabs. I felt like, okay, I see the way she was able to steal the round at the end, but a 30-27 from Marcos Rosales, listen, man, that's atrocious. Like, I don't know what you were watching. I don't know what you thought you saw that you believe Chukagian took the first round where she was getting pieced up throughout most of the round. It's just ridiculous. And then we saw that in several other fights in the prelims. In the Lando Banata fight, you had 2 judges score 30-27s for each fighter. How what are you two watching that you believe one dominates the other? Because 30-27 is a dominating performance, right? You win all rounds,
every round. Yep.
And the fact that each of these judges saw it going either way, whether if it was for Banata or for whether it was for Grundy, I mean, that's just bad. And Texas is known for this. If you go back to the card in Texas from last year, it's just as bad, the scoring. And I don't necessarily want to say it's exclusive to Texas, because like we've seen this everywhere. We've seen this in Vegas, even though Vegas is supposed to be this upper echelon example of athletic commissions that judge fights. It's just terrible. Something has to be done to address this, because it's costing fighters their well-earned money. It's costing fighters a better livelihood, or just their livelihood, period. And it shouldn't be the excuse of, oh, well, you just shouldn't let it get to the judges, is a shitty excuse, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, man. I had Araujo win round 1, landed bigger strikes. Round 2, she did have most of the ground control time. Chukagian did stand it up. I guess I can see in the judges how she may have stolen that round, finishing stronger on the feet, landing some big shots. And round 2, it did look like a tap to me, honestly. Oh, they're looking back at the replay. DC was like, I don't know. In that angle, it's kind of tough to say. I think John Anik said, oh, she was just trying to reach for her other hand. Clown. She was not. I'm kidding. It's iffy. Carlos would show it on screen. You give your take on whether it's a tap or not. But yeah, round 3, obviously Chukagian on the feet. Great standing striking, great combos. But for that one judge, like you said, 30-27, won every round. Clown, absolute clownery. I don't know. Texas does have a problem, not only in MMA but boxing too. I'm not talking only Canelo fights in Texas, but there's been a lot of boxers who fought in Texas and they don't agree with the judging. Judging slips up in Texas. I don't know what it is, but something needs to be fixed because you're right. These guys, these fighters, they train so hard and they put so much blood, sweat, and tears in training camps and for these opportunities, and bullshit judging like this. I don't want to say it's part of the game, but if you're in Texas, good fucking luck. It's mostly going to happen sometimes. Okay, so moving on to our next fight of the card. We had Matt Schnell versus Bontorin. And I don't know, Carlos, you want to take this over?
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was going to be a little bit more of an exciting fight. It started very slow, but at the end of the day, Bontorin was landing all the hard shots, had the bigger moments, and even in the third round, almost TKO'd Schnell. And I don't know if that helped him that he missed weight by a pound, what the edge was. He was clearly the bigger guy here. It seemed like he ballooned almost to 170. I mean, he was big in this fight, and you can see that with the strikes that were landed. But the moments were far and few between. It wasn't a lot of action. It didn't live up to being in the main card, but you know, it is what it is. It was a last minute reschedule because of us missing not just the Leon and the Diaz fight, but also the Hermanson fight that dropped out last second.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at those two fights that got removed from this card, wishing they were on this card because man, those decision with the Chuk again, Arujo, Schnell, Bontorin
killed the vibe. It was
cheese. How do you go from a bang first? That first fight was crazy, and then you lead up to these two decisions. Not good. Prelims, wow, but main card, hella sus. And moving forward to the co-main, another fight that just didn't live up. We had Beneil Daruish versus Tony Ferguson. I guess he got the job done. I was very disappointed in Daruish's performance. He did get 3 nice takedowns, but that was kind of it, honestly. I expected some more ground and pound while he was on the ground. He had 12 minutes, I think 12 minutes, 15 seconds of control time. This isn't for a title fight. So there's 3 rounds, 5 minutes to pop. So that's 15 minutes to show what you can do. 12 minutes of control time. This man was basically laying on top of Tony, not doing that much ground and pound, not going for submission attempts, no elbows thrown. He was just kind of laying there, just racking up the seconds, the minutes of ground control time. I don't know why, or if that was part of his strategy. You know, the first round, well, the striking, it wasn't that bad. He was looking kind of nice on the feet against Tony Ferguson. Now, obviously, Ferguson, he can land some big, heavy shots, but unless you get hit by those shots or you're in trouble, then use the takedown, obviously. But don't give 3 rounds of just, I'm gonna lay on top of you and get this ground control time, easy work. Because the Texas fans, God, you know, we don't like to see that. Beneil Daruish was getting booed throughout the fight. Such a disappointing performance. He did get the win, but then he had this cringe call out at the end of the fight. You know, this is your opportunity. You beat Tony Ferguson. Yes, Tony Ferguson's a good name to have underneath your belt. You can call out anybody top 5. Who do you call out? This man calls out Elon Musk, saying, Elon, where's my Tesla? I ordered it 3 or 4 months ago. I'm waiting on Elon. I have a family, a kid to provide. What? Even Joe Rogan's like, okay, let's move to the screen, seeing your performance. Like, what are you doing, man? That's so stupid. Call out Gaethje. Call out Conor McGregor. Somebody in lightweight. It was disappointing. I didn't like the co-main. Literally after the Barbosa fight, it was disappointment after disappointment after disappointment leading up to the main card. I don't know, man. What did you think about this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. You know, it was kind of not just shitty to see because it wasn't exciting, but also seeing Tony just get controlled for 12, 13 minutes. Tony Ferguson just had no answer for Daruish's wrestling, even though there were small moments where he looked decent on the feet, and when he was going back and forth with Beneil, we only got to see like 2 to 3 minutes of that in the fight. Like you said, you know, most of it was on the ground. Daruish just didn't show enough activity, or it seemed like he didn't want to finish Tony, besides the moment where he got that heel hook, right? That was crazy. You saw Tony, as tough as they come, still refusing to tap to a heel hook. You know, we saw the previous fight where Charles Oliveira had him in that crazy, nasty armbar where he hyperextended his arm. It looked broken. And it was almost the same with his ankle in this fight. You could tell after they stood up in the third round when he survived that it was compromised. His movement, he was limping, and he just couldn't really pivot with that foot, and it was bad. You know, Tony, credit to him, he's tough, but you know, his activity still also, he was trying to land some nice elbows from his back, and he was doing the best he could, but he was just getting controlled. And at the same time, you know, Daruish, the strikes he was throwing, I felt like he was just trying to touch Tony and score points. Wasn't really trying to knock him out. I don't know if he was trying to be gracious or you know, trying not to knock out the fan favorite. I doubt that. I doubt it's that. I think you had mentioned during the fight that, you know, he just was kind of very wary of Tony's ability to grab his arm and possibly get him in an armbar or get him in some type of dangerous submission, because he almost got him in a Dars twice in this fight.
Yeah.
So credit to him. You know, that's the game plan he wanted to follow. Got it done. Still, it wasn't exciting to see. And yeah, that post-fight speech was, I don't know. That was out of left field. That's stupid. That was dumb.
Yeah.
So
it was tough, man. Looking at Tony Ferguson, you know, he was number 5 ranked coming into this fight. 3 losses in a row. He's going to put down a little bit. A lot of people are speculating, wondering what does he have left at 37. I think he has a couple big more fights left in him. Looking down at the top 10, you have Dan Hooker, number 8, maybe Rafael Dos Anjos 2, number 7. There's a couple fights Tony has left, depending on the McGregor and Poirier, how that plays out. Listen, if Conor McGregor loses again, maybe McGregor Ferguson, the fight we've been wanting to see about 2 or 3 years ago. As far as Beneil Daruish, someone top 5. I don't care. Someone that's going to stand up fighting.
I would say Hooker, or match him up with Cowboy Cerrone. We'll see how that goes. As far as Daruish, I would like to see him fight Justin Gaethje. That's the fight I would like to see with Daruish.
It's an interesting matchup. So, moving on to the main event, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Boy, what a fight. Carlos, take it away.
Wow. I mean, after the whole night, at least in the main card, was just, man, it was disappointment after disappointment, especially for me, because I was into that fight. I was 0-4 with my picks on the main card. And then the main card started. I'm like, please, just give me this one. Please, just give me this one. The fight starts, and Oliveira starts with that stabbing body kick. And if you remember in the last video, I said that's what he needs to do to keep Chandler at bay. Chandler loves to close the distance and throw wild hooks to knock you out. And he was doing that good early, but eventually Chandler figured it out. He was able to land a shot. He hurt Oliveira at one point with a shot, and he actually got Oliveira in a guillotine early in the fight. Oliveira, being the BJJ expert, 10 plus year black belt that he is, he escapes that and immediately takes Chandler's back and had him in danger almost most of the round. But credit to Chandler, he escapes that. He eventually gets up, and what do we see? He hurts Oliveira and drops him. And we're like, oh no, it's over possibly, because you see Oliveira kind of on the ground. He's hands down, trying to evade Chandler's strikes as best as he can. He pulls guard, and even at that point you think, okay, he's pulling guard, he's okay, and he could possibly catch him in something here. And Chandler goes for it. He gets on him, gets the mount, and starts throwing some nasty ground and pound, some nasty elbows. But credit to Oliveira, he hangs in there and he survives. And I would just like to bring up the point that a lot of Oliveira's critics were saying the big thing about him into this fight was that he quits. If you look at his losses early in his career against Cub, against Paul Felder, he seems to, once he's in a close fight, to just give up early in his career. I would like to say, because at those fights, at that point of his career, he was a lot younger, a lot unexperienced. He came into the UFC 20 years old, and he was growing up in the UFC. Most of his fights, even though he has an impressive win streak, he has pretty much been the front runner, right? In those fights where he was put up against top talent like Cub at the time and Paul Felder, he seemed to fade away whenever he was hurt. And that was the big question. Was he going to quit when he was hurt? That was brought up by Chael Sonnen and by Brendan Schaub. That was literally why they picked Michael Chandler, because they thought Oliveira was going to quit. And what did we see? We saw Oliveira get hurt. He weathered the storm, even taking Chandler's biggest shots. And what happens? He comes out in the second round and knocks Chandler out in 19 seconds with the he starts it off with the crazy left hook, hurts Chandler, has him against the fence, is launching right hands, and eventually gets him to the ground. And it's just, oh my God, it is so brutal. It was insane. It was something straight out of a movie. It was crazy to watch. It was amazing. I was yelling like crazy. You can ask Alec.
We were going off. Awesome. Carlos was yelling at the top of his lungs. We both were going crazy. It was just a crazy performance and finish by Oliveira, man. Nothing much to say. He showed greatness.
Yeah, it was. I was going crazy because I don't know, just the way that went down. It was something like out of a Rocky movie. It was amazing. So credit to Oliveira for learning not to quit, for hanging in there and just obliterating Chandler in the second round. And now he's the champ. And what happens now? I mean, I think at this point, he should wait for Dustin versus Conor. The winner of that should fight him for the belt. And as far as Chandler, he did do good. He had some good moments in this fight. He obviously has hands. He's got power. That's why I call him Iron Mike Chandler. And he's got decent wrestling as well. Depending on the timing of, when Daruish is ready, Justin Gaethje is really the only other guy who's available, in my opinion. I feel that would be a great fight to see. He can have a rematch with Hooker if you want to say that was too quick of a knockout. Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor, I would love to see him fight the loser of that. Rafael dos Anjos, you have Paul Felder. I want to see Islam Makhachev fight someone ranked. Right now, he's booked against an unranked opponent, and I feel like he's the dark horse to become the champ in this division. But for whatever reason, no top 10 guy wants to fight him. And honestly, I'm not surprised. Islam is very talented. And yeah, that's a fight I would like to see as well.
Yeah, going off what Chandler said at the interview saying, yeah, give me 12 months, I'll be back. I don't think so. I think it was a little bit too soon. He definitely needs to prove himself. Yes, he beat Dan Hooker in crazy fashion. But Dan Hooker, he's been in great wars against Poirier, Paul Felder. Dan Hooker doesn't really have, and you talked about this earlier, I'm surprised we didn't talk about it before. Dan Hooker doesn't have good defense. You beat a guy who doesn't have good defense and you caught him with a shot. That's inevitable. It was going to happen. But Dan Hooker at the time, I forget what rank he was, but I don't think it was that top, man. It wasn't top 5, was it?
Oof, I don't know about that. I think he was top 5.
If it was top 5, you still need to show levels. You need to show us something. I need to see Gaethje fight. I would like to see the winner of Poirier McGregor, one of them. Because I don't know, man, that Oliveira fight, it was like you said, it was something out of a movie. He got in round 1, it was kind of scary because we saw him on the ground taking those shots from Chandler, the refs looking in real close. But Oliveira, I think he was a little cut too. He was leaking some blood from his eyebrow.
That was from the first shot that caused Oliveira to try to take him down, and then that he fell into Chandler's guillotine.
Didn't look good in the first round for Oliveira, but then in the second round, in 19 seconds, just to take him out on the feet, it was crazy. You're right. He landed a nice left hook. Chandler got wobbled. 1-2, 1-2. Chandler falls down. Oliveira takes charge. It's over like that. 19 seconds. That was crazy. Outstanding performance for Oliveira. I think next, I think it is the winner of McGregor Poirier. So obviously the loser of that should fight Chandler. Chandler needs to show us at least 2 more fights before he takes on the champ again, depending how he finishes in emphatic style. We'll see how it goes. But good Lord, 263 better show up. It better not disappoint, man. I bought this card. My money back, Dana. What the fuck?
These cards too, man, like 70, what was it, like $75 after taxes for this pay-per-view. Yeah, top of that, you need ESPN Plus to pay for these pay-per-views. It's not like you can just buy it outright. These cards are pricey, man. These pay-per-views are really up there. It used to be shit when ESPN Plus started. They hiked it up to 65. Now it's like damn near 75. And yeah, for these cards, I mean, that's why you have a huge streaming problem. You know what I'm talking about right now in the UFC. So you want to know why? It's that. Even like the Conor card, you know, everyone wants to see Conor. It does a lot of buys, but for some reason, like whenever they make a Conor card or a fight with Conor in a pay-per-view, they don't stack it up. You have like 1 or 2 good fights, and the rest of it is just
cheese. Straight
Bologna.
cheese.
Yeah, it's cheese.
I mean, Connor is a big name, and I guess they're paying him a lot. What was the last fight? 20 mil or something? 15?
Yeah, I believe it was 20.
But still, it's part of the show. Do y'all remember 205 in New York where we had everybody? I
Yeah,
want that kind of card.
That
If I'm
was
paying
crazy.
top dollar, I want top fights, not just one or two good prelims. Have fun. Like, no, man, come on, stack this up. But to be fair, this card was stacked up. Unfortunately, 2 big fights fell through in the main card. So as I'm saying, 263 better show up.
But the
or I'm gonna be
UFC
pissed.
does not give a shit. Like, something that could have happened and something they've done in the past is if for whatever reason, let's say Oliveira and Chandler canceled. You know what they would have done? They would have moved up Tony Ferguson and Benil to be main event,
Main
5
event.
rounds.
Oh,
Probably not for a belt, or maybe for the belt. That doesn't matter. They would have done that. They would have moved up a prelim fight, and they still would have charged $75. There's never been a situation where
I mean,
so many
50.
fights fall out, and they're like, okay, maybe we have to discount this card, guys, because you know, all these interesting fights are gone. You would think, you know, maybe reduce the price to get more interest. No, Dana's like, nah, charge them charge them $100. They're lucky. They're lucky.
they owe me money, and I'm coming for it.
But that's our takes on the fight, guys. If you liked our opinions or you like this video, like the content that we're creating, you know, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Tell us how you feel the event went in the comment section below, how you think the fights played out, what you think should happen from here on out, and follow us on IG and Twitter. And we really appreciate you guys watching. See you guys on the next video. Take it easy.